Oh, buddy. We have got a zany week ahead of us, you guys. And we've had a zany week behind us as well. Real quickly, I know I was gone last week. It was rough. I had no internet at all. Camstorm decided that I was wrong about telling them that they were wrong about what was wrong with my internet. And they didn't want to send out a dude. And I was like, could you, though? So they made me go through the whole rigmarole of unplugging stuff and plugging stuff back in, like I'd never used the internet before. And finally, we got a guy out here. I got my internet back up and running, but it was a week hiatus. It was impromptu. It was not planned. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't play, obviously, online. I had no internet. I couldn't play test. I mean, it sucked for the channel aspect. I mean, it wasn't like life altering. It's not like I just wept in my bed. I did do something kind of cool, I think, where I just assumed when my internet went out, I was like, I'm going to pretend that online DRM is like the new thing. I'm going to pretend it exists. I'm not going to play any games this week. And that sucked dick. Like, I mean, I know we've all talked about how bad it would be, like, during outages and stuff, if this always-on shit really takes off. But I don't know how many of us have actually, like, experienced it, especially those who live in, like, city areas. I don't live in a big city by any means, but I usually have internet when I'm supposed to have it. And, I mean, it really sucks balls. It's just a really unfair, shitty concept. It was kind of a cool little social experiment to see, how much it angered me, to not be able to do, like, anything, but... I mean, yeah, whatever. It's just no internet. It's not the end of the world. I am sorry that last week I was pretty quiet on comments and everything as well. It's very hard to answer comments on my phone, especially since I started getting throttled already this month, because I use an insane amount of data even when I don't have internet issues at my house. Anyways, that's 2 minutes exposition that you guys don't even give a shit about. You guys have been clamoring. You have been just storming the walls to find out how I run Mindstorms. Be honest with you, this is not one of my favorite decks by any means. I've worked really hard on getting this 60 together. I was worried that I wasn't going to get the episodes up on Monday. Hopefully I do. I do time travel when I do these, so hopefully I get an episode up on Monday for you. Because I was really playtesting the shit out of this, and the build that I've arrived at is actually a lot of fun. It's gotten some really crazy wins. I wish I was recording, and hopefully it's going to perform as well throughout the week. Anyway, so I think that's pretty much it for house cleaning. Let's take a look at the cards that are downstairs for this deck. We're looking at 3 Terramorphic Expanses. The mana in this one is actually pretty stable. You can see it's 10 and 11. I don't have a whole lot of problems, but there isn't really any fetch per se for it. There's some drawing. It's also nice to have the Terramorphic Expanses in case you draw one later on. You can discard it and you won't have to discard anything else, depending on what cards you're playing. And so moving on, we're going to look at the Mana Leak suite. Now, Mana Leak's a super great card. Obviously, I'm going to run all 3 of these guys. It's fantastic. It's really powerful. I mean, early game, it's going to stop your opponents from laying those threats that you can't deal with. This deck has some issues with its early game. Most of its drops come later on. You can see that I tried my best to sweeten out the curve the way I like it, but we still have 8 5-drops, which I'm not in love with. So Mana Leak does a good job of letting us get to those 5-drops. The nice thing about Mana Leak, though, is that it'll also make your opponent tap down. Maybe they were going to play something else that turn. Now they're not allowed to. It'll also, it'll also stop you from having the sad times early on. That's pretty much all I was saying. It could stop big bomb threats as well, because a lot of players just tap down that late in the game. They're not thinking about Mana Leak, so they'll tap 7, they'll go balls to the wall. You'll be able to leak them out, and it'll be quite enjoyable for you. Razorfin Hunter, this guy is really cool. He's a Merfolk Gibberlin. He pokes, man. He's 10 for 2 mana. He's a 1/1 dude. He's poking your opponents, your creatures. This guy's amazing. I would run a billion of them, but they only give me 2. So I do enjoy that guy. He's pretty awesome. Reverberate's hilarious. You could just reverberate a bunch of stuff in this deck. It's just useful with like everything in this deck, and you have to remember that it also can be used on your opponent's spells as well. Note, though, that this is not redirect, okay? This is a copy. You copy the spell. redirect would just say, I'm pretty sure redirect just states, choose new targets for target spell, or something to that effect. What this does is it's going to copy the spell, and then you're going to select new targets for your copy. Bottom line, your opponent's or your first casting that you're targeting with Reverberate is still going to resolve. A lot of people get a little butthurt about that one. It makes sense once you see it, but if you don't know about it and you're just playing the card for the first time, it can be very frustrating, because you're like, oh, you know, it's like a... But it'd be red counterspell if it was that way, so that's why they did it this way. It's so that you just make a copy of that spell and you get to choose new targets. But always remember that that first spell that you're copying will resolve. If it's your opponent's, that could be a little sour for you, but you need to keep that in mind. Volcanic Geyser, Blaze. I mean, I'll run Blaze all day. It's amazing. X damage, target opponent. I'm good with that. I run all three of those. Arc Lightning, Sorcery Speed, but it's removal. It's really good removal. If they've got 1/1s or something out, even though it's Sorcery Speed, the ability to choose the different targets for it makes all the difference. It's 3 mana, 3 damage, 1 damage per mana, really, if you want to look at it that way. It's kind of a value card, almost a coupon. You can 3-for-1 people if you're super lucky. It's just a strong card. I like to run all 3 of those as well. Breaking Point, I know, is up for debate. I only run 2 of them. I love Breaking Point because at it's bad and it's good. It's not a great card, but I do like having it in the deck because 6 damage for 3 mana is amazing, especially with all the instant damage that I have. I mean, I have stuff like Beacon of Destruction where I can just kill people instantly by using Breaking Point. It also is in some cases going to wipe the field, which is really nice for me because I don't have a lot of creatures early on in the match. So Breaking Point, I think, in this deck is valid. It depends a lot of time. It's very conditional. It's not the kind of card that I like using because, like I've said in the past, I like having more control over when my spells are valid, and this is kind of a wild card. But it is good in this deck, so I do make an exception for Breaking Point. Cerebral Vortex is hilarious. In playtesting, I killed the shit out of some dude because what did he do? He did that one thing where he draws like cards equal to what's in my hand, and I had like 1,000 because I'm this pile, and then I just did this. It did like, what the hell did I do to him? Like 9 damage just by Cerebral Vortexing. The thing that I will say about that though is make sure that on your next turn you kill him because you've given him 2 cards. Never ever do this, or never ever Sign in Blood your opponent when you're not killing them that turn, the next turn. I mean, he was tapped down. I had instant damage in my hand. I knew I could seal the deal if I vortexed him right there. But never ever do that, please, because it's very dangerous. It's sad times. You just don't want to give your opponent the cards. And if you're using this on yourself, make sure you use it on your opponent's turn so you only take 2 damage, not 3 damage, because it does count that initial card draw. Compulsive Research I keep. It's pretty good. I mean, you're drawing some cards. I got 2 of them in there, I'm pretty sure, yeah. Electrolyze, instant speed, 2 damage, plus I get to draw a card. I will run that all day, plus you're just freaking shooting a Celestian Guildmage in the balls right there. That seems pretty graphic. Electrode is a home run hitter. This guy untaps, he's tapping, he's untapping, he's up, he's down, he's mood swingy. He's all over the place, but he's still a very fun guy to have at a party. He's going to do a lot of damage. I mean, he's a removal spell. He can kill some creatures if you need him to, but usually I just take him to the face. Dragonauts. I run a bunch of these guys, don't I? Yeah, I run 3 of them. They get bigger at instant speed. They're fairy wizards. They got big ol' eyes or something. I don't know. What can you say about It gets +2 in the front. It's flying. It's got evasion. That's the sweet spot for this guy is that he has evasion. That's why I run him. This guy's immortal, but really annoying. Like, I only run the 2 of them because I don't really want them to keep bouncing him to my hand. It makes me sad. But there are decks that just... The fact that this guy can't be targeted makes some decks just weep uncontrollably. So, I mean, he's okay. Against blue, he's not great because most of blue's removal is just bounce anyway. But he's still pretty good. I run 2 of this guy because it does 2 damage when he hits the field. It seems pretty good to me. He is a 4-drop 1/3, which is terrible. But if he gets bounced or anything like that for any reason, I don't know why they wouldn't just take the 1. You get to reuse the 2. you don't have a whole lot of ways to get rid of big creatures in this deck, so when I'm building this deck, I like to think about how I can value 2-for-1 myself. If something's 5 in the ass, I can do this. I mean, it costs me a ton of mana, understandably, but there's not hard, solid removal in this deck. And that's one of the reasons that I don't really enjoy it too much, is I like being very controlling with my removal. I like being like, that guy's not in the game anymore. Don't worry about RFGing cards is fun. Killing cards is fun. Damaging cards is not as fun, because if it's big, if a 6 in the ass card is really hard for this deck to deal with. I mean, you can't even pray for Beak at that point, Beacon of Destruction. So I like to 2-for-1 cards in the best way possible, and I think that getting a 1/3 body on the field while I try and kill a dude is pretty effective. Not great, because I am tapping out a lot of mana to do it, but it's okay. Plus, this guy can go to the face, which is always great. On to the elements. It's tricky, but it will win you games. Like, it's tricky to use. Don't get overzealous with it, but it will win you games if you use it correctly. It's one of those cards where I can't really give you advice on how to use it. It's the sort of thing that you just have to play with it a lot in order to get a feel for when you need a 2/2 or when you need a 3/3 and when you need to get rid of your lands. The thing is that in this particular deck, your lands are always a resource, even late game, because you're going to be able to use them to power all your blaze spells. So it's a very tricky card to have in this deck. I run one of them because if you have two, that's just a waste of a slot, really. But this guy is going to get it done for you, depending on what you have. I mean, you can do this in Time Warp, and then you got a bunch of dudes. You would do it at their end step, then Time Warp, so that you can get in the 2 hits. That's 6 damage right there. So, I mean, it's good. It depends on how you're using it. 4 to 6 damage right there. But it takes a lot of practice to use. Hopefully, it sees some play in the gameplay of this week, so that we can get into a little bit more depth of just like a visually seeing how it works. I think will really help drive the point home. But it is a good card. I like having it in here. Beacon of Destruction, speak of the devil. This card is 5 damage for 5 mana, and it shuffles back in. I will run that all day. All day, because it says instant speed. That's amazing. I love it. Demonish Flility is amazing. At the beginning of my upkeep, I gain control of target permanent until end of turn. I get to untap it, and it gains haste. I get lands with this. I get +1/+1 enchantments to this. I get your indestructibility card from the blue-white pile, and I slap it on this guy. I slap it on whatever I want. Like, I just get permanents. It's pretty good, because it says permanent, so I run both of that. P-Bolt's probably my favorite card, like, ever printed. I just love it. I love it! It is instant speed 4 damage, so it's instant speed removal, if I can. But what it really is excels at, is it's instant speed slap you in your face mouth for 4, and then I get to pick! I don't even draw cards. I don't draw cards, I don't discard cards. Well, they're on my bottom of my library, so, you know, they're pretty effed down there, but I get to pick a card from the top 4. That is amazing. I love this guy. I love this thing. I run him all day. And then here's my bomb, Spellbound Dragon. This guy's awesome. I mean, he gets +X. I mean, you never know what this guy's gonna be. What's he gonna be? I mean, they still get to block him. Like, they get to know what it is before you, I mean, it doesn't happen at, like, instant speed or anything. But it's still really cool. I like it. It's a solid 5-drop. It's a 3/5 at worst, so you can get some blocking done pretty early in the game, too, because it's 5 mana. And then I've got 1 Time Warp. I don't need 2 Time Warps. I mean, that's just greedy. It's greed McGreeds. I can reverberate the Time Warp if I want to be greedy, and that costs a lot less. So I'll still get 2 turns. But yeah, there you go. It's Time Warp. Let's do the Time Warp again all the time. I got one of these up here because I don't need multiples. Thunder Strike is instant. Get 2 in first strike. I loved this when I was unlocking. Because you get to use Wee Dragonauts and they just go apeshit. Like, they get they're like 5/3s with first strike. But just, I don't know, it gets edged out. At the end of the day, you don't have enough creatures that makes it worthwhile. I mean, I guess you could play it on your 1/1 dude that pokes too. That'd be silly. They're like getting in your ass, and you're like, hey, my 1/1 dude's a 3/1 with first strike. It might have a place at the table if you wanted to take out Breaking Point for a card that's still conditional, but I don't know. It just doesn't have as much uses. I don't know. I stand by my 60, but I can see an argument for this card, I guess. Act of Treason, I know a lot of people love Act of Treason. I particularly don't, because they get it back, it's sorcery speed. Lots of people are like, oh, it's a kill spell. It's not really a kill spell. It kind of depends entirely on how your opponent's doing, really. It is going to turn the tides, though. I will say one thing about this card is that in a bad situation, you would want this card, and that's the best time to play cards. You know, if you don't have a strong position and you're trying to dig out of a hole, those are the cards you want, because you don't want cards that you're like, oh, if I'm clearly ahead, I would love to play this. But if you don't kill them, if this isn't your master stroke, your death stroke, you're still going to get hit in the face with that other guy. Are you tapping down? Like, are you attacking all out? I don't know. Do they have fog? Fog's in the format? There's a lot of bad things that can happen with Act of Treason. The fact that I have Dominus is just way better. Breaking Point, one of them's upstairs. Compulsive Research, because I don't need to see that. This just costs way too much. I mean, I know it says Blaze, and it says draw cards, but it costs too much. And I got, like, double blue. It's never on time. Quicksilver Dagger, both these are just too slow. And I get 2-for-1s like crazy, because my dudes are so weak in the ass. Like, what do I got, like 3s for the most part? 4s, like, my best until my bomb at 5? No, I mean, it's just too slow, and my dudes aren't strong enough to carry that kind of weight. This guy has +4, neg4. That doesn't do anything for me. I don't even care. That's not even removal in my book. We Dragonauts, one's upstairs. Jester's Cap, that's a joke. I mean, no, why? No. Lightning Elemental's quick, flashy, and hasty. Well, he's not flashy, but he's bright. He's probably flash. Never mind. My point is that this guy's not great. He's a 4-1 with haste. He's old school, but cards have been getting more powerful lately, and he has not, so he stays upstairs. We already talked about that guy. This is just a cornhole. I don't even know. Like, this thing, I gotta... What am I, flipping coins or something? Who even knows? Who's reading this thing? We all switch, and then you pick. It's like I'm playing a card so you can do stuff to me. I don't like that. I don't want that at all. Don't want too many of those guys up there. Don't want more than one of those. Genericious. Look at that guy's face. I don't care about this. It costs a bunch of mana to play, then it costs a bunch of mana to do stuff. This guy is just a billion mana Archaeomancer. Like, why don't I just have that? Why is this guy worse? I don't get it. Get out of here. I don't want too many of that guy. They do give you like 3. Tittings, you get 4 cards. It's not bad. I'm winning right then. Like, I don't know. I love drawing cards, but I've got bigger fish to fry at that point. This deck is very fickle, and if I'm spending time drawing too many cards, like, I like my drawing cards in this deck to also damage my opponent or also get me some kind of other value. Like, the fact that I'm spending an entire turn to draw 4 cards when I don't have any board state, and that's really the problem. Like, what do I have? Like a 1-1 out, a 1-3 out? Like, that's not an intimidating board state. It's not to the point where I can spend time drawing 4 cards. Time Warp, we already talked about that. This guy's just, what's his nuts on a stick. The Dominus is just better than this guy, so he's up there. This guy costs 6. He destroys artifacts. I don't know if they have artifacts. That art is really sweet, though. Look at that thing. But I don't know if they have artifacts, so that's not great. This thing's up here because it costs 6 for shit's sake, and I would never use the ability, like, ever. I don't have that many creatures. Plus, if I just dry drop, like, what's the point of having the 1-3 that does 2 damage if I use this? Sad times. Nymph Zizit, it costs a lot, and he's too slow to get going. He's too slow. Like, I know I have a lot of draw in this pile, but they're always, like, stealing him, mind controlling him, or, like, killing him, and you're just like, oh, I spent so much mana to do nothing. Makes you sad. Makes you very sad. This guy's not good. Lots of people are like, oh, he's got Shroud. I'm like, yeah. Oh, I get to see what's next on my library. Oh, yeah. I mean, he's 6 mana, though. Like, 6 mana for Shroud is great. 6 mana for Flying's great. You can play him, I guess. I guess, what, are you going to take out the dude who gets huge? My 3-5? I don't want to do that. Am I taking out Time Warp? I'm not taking out Time Warp for this guy. Time Warp wins games. I don't know. Mass Removal still kills this guy. Mass Removal's way more popular now that we got, 5-color in the mix. I don't know. I don't know. Draw a bunch of cards, put +1/+1 counters on him. He costs 3,000 mana. Thunder Dragon does some stuff, costs a bunch of mana. Insurrection. I will punch anyone in the nuts who plays this card. I hate this garbage card. I got beat by this card once. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that story, if you've seen that episode where I talked about it, but this card is just got a very sore spot on my butt for that card. Living Inferno costs 8, so that's why that's not being played. And there you go! That's how I do 60s. This is a good deck, though. It's fun. Look at me with my 33.3% creatures. Repeating, of course. It actually would be. There you go, you guys. We're doing things. We're storming. We're Norman storming lethal. That's what we're doing all week. We're going to be getting in there. It is pretty easy. I wouldn't say easy, but it is. Your wins can usually be orchestrated to be even, Steven, with this deck, which I do love. It's a fun deck. It's a crazy deck. We already did that. Silly magic. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, you guys. I hope you guys enjoy this week. I know it's been a long time coming. I guess what, like, blue-white's been suggested before? I don't know what else we're gonna do. Anyway, be sure to hit up the comments. Let me know what you think about the 60. Let me know what you would do different. Talk amongst yourselves. Talk to your friends. Talk to your buddies. Talk to me. It's a great time down there in the comments, to be sure. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate all the views you send my way, and I will see you tomorrow.